ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أرسله ربه بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة وجاهد في سبيله حتى أتاه اليقين. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا وإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. I bear witness that there is none worthy of our worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, peace be upon him, is the seal of the prophets and the final messenger to all of humanity. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, there is none to misguide. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves to stray, there is none to guide. يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وأصدق القائلين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وبعد فقد تكلمنا في الأسبوع الماضي عن دعوة للتأمل والتدبر، وقلنا أن المسلم الإنسان العاقل لابد أن يتعلم من كل شيء ومن كل إنسان فينظر حوله ويتأمل ويتفكر. والقرآن مليء بالدعوات الكثيرة للتأمل، أفلا يتفكرون، أفلا يتدبرون، أفلا تعقلون. Last time we started to speak about an invitation to think and reflect, to look around and see what is going on. And we see everywhere in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting us to look around and to learn from everything and from everyone. And we said that everywhere you go in the Quran, every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about something, or there is something to be learned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't they think, don't they reflect, don't they use their intellect, don't they reason, use their reason, and so on and so forth. We said last time, there is so much to learn in this world. You can learn from anyone, and you can learn from everything. And we gave a lot of examples, what you can learn from Islam, and what you can learn from the people around you, your friends and family, from old and from young. And also we spoke about learning even from animals, and from everything around you. So today, inshallah, continuation, and some more things that we can learn from the people around you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, He's talking about the people of hikmah, the people of intelligence. They are the ones الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه أولئك الذين هداهم الله وأولئك هم أولو الألباب. These intelligent people, the smart people, they are the ones who listen to something and they take the best out of it. Because not everything you hear around you is good. Sometimes you listen to good things, sometimes you listen to something that doesn't make any sense. So they are the ones who take the best out of everything. And they are the ones who are rightly guided, and they are the people of reason. Ulul albab, the people of reason. So a Muslim is basically, a good example is that of a bee. Nahl. A Muslim is like a bee. The bee, when it goes to the field, there are flowers. So the bee goes straight to the flowers to take the nectar, rahib, and there's maybe junk or whatever, wood or dust, whatever. It doesn't go there. It goes straight to the nectar, to the useful substance for the bee. So a Muslim is like this. You listen to lectures, you listen to classes and scholars and mashayikh. Some of the stuff is good and acceptable and makes sense. Some things, they don't make any sense, right? And mashayikh and ulama even, and different groups and different schools, they say good things and sometimes they go overboard. The only one that you take, even with your eyes closed, is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and of course the Quran before this. But anyone else, if they give you a proof, you accept. If they just use whatever, if it doesn't make sense, you look for something else that is supported by evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some of the things that we can learn from And some of the stories and the examples I'm going to give today may be astonishing to some people, but this is the truth. And some of these examples are mentioned in the Quran. Sometimes we listen to the stories passingly. We don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by these stories. So one of the examples, learning from the sisters. A lot of times we read about men who were very famous throughout history. We learn from their hikmah, an example. But there are so many sisters we can learn from their example, even from the time of the Sahaba. And there are so many ladies throughout history that you can learn from their example. So what do we learn from the ladies? We learn patience. This is something you may not see because you are busy with work, you are running around, playing basketball, sitting at Tim Hortons. But the sisters, they go through a lot of things. Pregnancy and taking care of kids, cooking, cleaning, doing the dishes, changing the diaper. A lot of pressure in her life. You also have a pressure because you have to go to work, wherever you work, but you also have a release. You can go out, you can play stuff, you can talk to your friends, but most of the time the sisters stay in the house, especially in the winter time. They can't leave the kids at home. They have all these pressures. They have also the monthly, this time in the month when they, they have this, thing going on, and they have a lot of difficulties in their lives. And when you come to work, and the sisters, they know, they're very intelligent, right? So when you have a problem at work, they know even before you open your mouth. They know. These sisters know. You, when your wife has this time in the month, the monthly cycle, she's going through all these psychological changes and physical changes, and you don't have a clue. You're asking, for example, my favorite example, you're asking your wife, she's not feeling good, you're asking her to pass the salt, you say something, whatever, she didn't hear you, you say something, then she overreacts, she will hit you with a plate on your face, and you think to yourself, what did I say? I didn't say anything. I just said salt, I didn't say assault. Just salt, not assault, right? But you don't understand the psychology of the system, but she understands you. So during this time, avoid anything controversial, don't push her too much, because now you should understand the psychology. Also, مسألة التبرير. Sisters, they think, they put things together. Believe me, if you have a difficulty at something, talk to your wife. Ask her for mashura. And the Prophet ﷺ did exactly the same thing. If there was something difficult, he was not happy about something, he would just talk to his wife. What do you think I should do? Although he was receiving revelations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before I'm going to give an example from Rasulullah ﷺ, I will give an example from the Qais in Surah Al-Naml. You know the story of the hudhud, the huku, we spoke about this last time. So when she received the letter from Sulaiman alayhi salam, she spoke to her council of men, and they were the chiefs, the chiefs, right? So she said, well, I received this letter from Sulaiman. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, innahu min Sulaiman, till the end of the ayat. What do you think I should do? I would never make a decision without you. They said, let's go to war. We have muscles, we have the weapons, let's finish them, let's fight. She said, whoa, relax. If this man is a prophet, if he is a king, if we give him tribute, if we give him gift and money, he will be happy with it. But if he is a prophet, then he will not accept the gift, then we should look for a different way to deal with him. So she analyzes the situation to see if he was a prophet or if he was a king. At the end, she realized he was a prophet because he refused a gift. She said, okay, now he's a man on a mission. Let's talk to him. And she visited him. Eventually, she became Muslim. Now imagine if she accepted the nasiha or the mashura of the men. Let's go to war. Let's fight. Let's kill each other. The result would have been much different. Now, you read in the books of Seerah and the books of Hadith, in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, a lot of Sahaba were not happy because the Prophet ﷺ made a peace agreement, a truce with the Kuffar. They told him, there's no Umrah this year, go back and come next year. Now, maybe I spoke about this before. Can you imagine traveling from Medina to Mecca just for Umrah, which normally takes about, it depends on the crowd, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, more or less. the Tawaf and the Safa and Marwa, it doesn't take longer than this. So the Prophet ﷺ traveled like 270 or 300 miles to Mecca for Umrah. They told him, no, you can't, go back another 300 miles, come next year, 300 miles, then for the Umrah, then go back. So the total is over 1,000 miles to do Umrah that normally takes about 30 minutes. And the Sahaba were very angry. What is this? So the Prophet ﷺ told them, there's no Umrah this year, next year inshallah we'll come back. Then the Prophet ﷺ told them, قُومُوا فَاحْلِقُوا وَانْحَرُوا. He told them, let's go and shave our heads and offer our, the animals, the sacrificial animals. So, فَمَا قَامَ أَحَدٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ. No one listened to the Rasulullah because they were so angry. And the Prophet went to Mustafa and he said, هَلَكَ النَّاسِ. The people are destroying themselves. No one is listening to me. What should we do? So Mustafa said, don't talk to anyone. Just go out, shave your head, offer your animal, and believe me, they will follow you. So the Prophet went out, he shaved his head, he offered his animal, and sure enough, all of the Sahaba, they started to do the same thing. So much so that some of them, they said, we're doing it so quick that we were afraid that some of us might die in the process because they were quick, following the example of the Prophet. So, Mashura, talk to the sisters, put them in the picture, ask them for their nasihah, their advice. We grew up with this saying in my village in Egypt, and I heard it from some relatives, as if it was a hadith or something. يعني شاوروهن وخالفوهن. Ask your wife for nasihah, for mashura, if you want, but always do the opposite of what she says. Right? If she tells you go to the right, go to the left. So why don't you talk to her? See, the Prophet ﷺ was listening to taking mashura from his wife, right? So this is not a hadith. هذا يعني كاذب محض له قرنان, right? So this is not a hadith. It is not authentic. It is not something that the Prophet ﷺ said, because he himself was talking to his wife and he was taking mashura from her. So this is something we can learn from the sisters. Also, learning from children. Last time I focused on different things. We focused on animals. Maybe we're going to give a few examples from animals today. But children, this could be a whole khutbah by itself. There are so many things we can learn from children. You look at them, you think, oh, they don't know anything, right? They're just, innocent, they don't know anything. Believe me, there are a lot of things we can learn from them. I'm going to give you 3 examples, then we can move on, inshallah. The first one is al-bara, innocence. Right? All these children, they are born pure and innocent. They don't know how to lie. They're not biased. They're not racist. Once they start to look around and see us lying all the time, they see us behaving arrogantly, they see us being racist to different people of different colors from different countries, now they imitate us. But they are not born with these qualities, lying and stealing and being racist and biased. They are not born with these qualities, right? They always speak the truth, but they learn from us. And I remember giving the example of, it's a true story by the way, I heard it from several mashayikh. Someone calls and you didn't like the person, but he keeps calling, so you will tell your son, just answer the phone and tell him my father is not here. So the kid is innocent, like 3 or 4 years old. He will answer the phone and he will say, my father is telling you that he's not here. I'm in trouble now, because you're teaching them to lie, and later you will become their victim. They're going to start lying to you. Although you taught them, but now they're doing it to you. So you're getting what you did, basically, right? You're reaping what you sow, basically, as they say. Also, one of the things we learn from children is logic. Believe me, when you talk to children who are like 3, 4, 5 years old, don't use magaz with them. Figures of speech, metaphors, they don't know what you're talking about. And you can say, for example, you're talking to your son, he's bragging about something or he's bugging you. He starts to cry because he wants to eat something, whatever, or to watch something, and he starts to cry. All these. So you tell him, okay, raise your voice because your dad is asleep. Raise your voice so he will wake up. Loud. They don't know what you mean. You're trying to rebuke them. You're trying to keep them to be quiet, but they're just listening to what you say. They think
you are telling them to raise their voice, although this is not what you meant, right? So intelligence, they are intelligent and they are very logical people. And a few days ago, we were talking about the tafsir halaqa in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam and how Yaqub, the father of Yusuf alayhi salam and his father, Yaqub was talking to his son. When he saw the dream, he was talking to him as if his son was an adult. He was only a few years old. He was talking as if he was talking to an adult. It's a very, like a grown-up conversation. And so on and so forth. Even the Prophet ﷺ, also, there are so many hadith, he was talking to some of the children, he would talk to them as if they were intelligent, older people, adults. Like the hadith from Abdullah ibn Abbas, Ya Ghulam Samillah, إذا سألت فاسأل الله وإذا استعنت فاستعن بالله. You know the hadith. If you have something to ask for, ask Allah. If you need help, ask Allah. Abdullah ibn Abbas was very young. And I told the story of Al-Hasan, the son of Ali, when he was trying to eat a date from Sadaqah, the Prophet ﷺ told him, don't you know that Ahlul Bayt, alayhim salam, they are not supposed to eat charity? They're not supposed to eat charity. They can eat gifts, but they don't take Sadaqah, and so on and so forth. So, children are very intelligent. One of the logical ways that children behave, when they learn a language, and this is very important for a lot of you who study different languages and they have a difficulty with it. Children start learning by listening to the language of their parents, then they start to speak, then they start to write, then read. What we do the opposite, upside down. If you're starting to learn a new language like English or French, usually you start by reading, writing, then speaking, then listening at that. You do the opposite, this is why you never learn, because you do it the opposite. So they are very logical, they are very smart. You read in Surah Al-Qasas, when the mother of Musa alayhi salam sent her daughter, she was a little bit older than Musa alayhi salam, وَقَالَتْ لِأُخْتِهِ قُصِّي. Go track him and keep an eye on him, see what happens to him. So she went, she was very old, a few years old. So she went there, and when Musa alayhi salam refused to be nursed, from different ladies, so she approached them, the soldiers, and she said, I can tell you about a family who will nurse him and take care of him. They will take good care of him. They will be good to him. So they said, how do you know that they will take care of him? Are you from the family of Musa? Because they wanted to seize her and take her just like they took Musa. She said, who wouldn't like to serve the son or take care of the son of the Pharaoh? Because this is what Musa was called at the time, the son of the Pharaoh, right? So they said, okay, yeah, it makes sense. This is a good point. I said, okay, bring the lady on so she can take care of Musa alayhi salam. I mentioned the story also at the halaqah. When children, they are very inquisitive, they are very curious, they ask questions, and sometimes we try to deceive them just to keep them quiet. When we ask you questions about where we came from, where Allah is, how do you describe Allah, these difficult questions. And there are so many ways you can answer. The easiest answer that we do, keep your mouth shut. You just, you want to watch a movie, like you change the topic so you don't want the answer. And sometimes you just tell them anything that comes to your mind. But these kids, they are very intelligent. You have to resonate with them. You have to explain to them in a way they understand. And believe me, if you don't give them the answer, the school will give them the answer. Their friends will give them the answer. Sometimes the wrong answer. So I gave the example of a kid. He asked his mother, me and my brothers and sisters, where did we come from? So she should have explained to him using an analogy or something. So the best way that she was able to explain was, in the morning, at night before we slept, I put some sugar and I put it under the carpet. And in the morning, I found you and your brothers were there, right? Doesn't make any sense, but she couldn't explain it. So the kid is very curious. So what he did late before he went to bed, he put some sugar under the carpet, and in the morning he raised the carpet, and he found roaches, right? So he came to his mother and he said, you know what, I put sugar at night, in the morning I didn't find kids, I found, roaches. She said, La hawla, do we have roaches in the house? Why didn't you kill them? Why didn't you kill them? He said, how can I kill my children? Because now he's just listening to what his mother said. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yu'allimana ma yanfa'una wa yanfa'una ma 'allamana, sallallahu.
الحمد لله رب العالمين واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله ارسله ربه رحمه للعالمين.
One of the best things we can learn from children is ilhah. You see, when they bug the parents, candy, 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 iPad, iPad, iPad. They keep saying it 1,000 times until you get tired and you just give them whatever they want, right? So some of the ulama, they say, if you want something from Allah, don't ask Him one time, but keep asking. So consistency, just like children. Daddy, daddy, daddy. You always say, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. And if you refuse to give your kids candy, or whatever they're asking for, you know what kids do? They start to cry. This is what you need to do to Allah. If you're asking for a wife, or a husband, or a job, or whatever, for a long time, or you're sick, you're asking for good health, at some point you need to start praying and crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you, just like kids do. And eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Hayyun Kareem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has haya from the people. Whenever they make dua for Him, He has haya. يستحي أن يرفع إليه عبده يديه ثم يردهما صفرا. Allah will never turn your hands empty if you make dua for Him. So always keep this in your mind. The Prophet ﷺ says in the authentic hadith, إن الله تعالى يستجيب الدعاء ما لم تعجل. تعجل إنك تدعي مرة واحدة وتقول يعني لم يستجب لي. So Allah, the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah will always answer you as long as you don't give up on Allah. You will make dua one time, then you'll say, well, I made dua for a few seconds, I looked around, I was asking for a wife, nothing happened. Or I'm looking for a job, I prayed one time, nothing happened. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want something from Allah, be consistent and keep doing it for a long time, asking Allah. Eventually, if it is the best for you, He will give it to you. And some of the ulama even they say, believe me, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you whatever you're asking for, after just making dua one time, once you take it, you will never ask Allah again. He knows us. في القرآن, in many different places, وإذا مس الإنسان الضر دعانا لجنبه أو قاعدا أو قائما أو كذا, في الآيات كثيرة. فلما كشفنا عنه ضره مر كأن لم يدعونا إلى ضر مسه. وإذا أنعمنا على الإنسان أعرض ونأى بجانبه وإذا مسه الشر فذو دعاء عريض. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers you with His blessings and His favors and His all these good things, a lot of people, they never make dua to Allah, they never remember Him. The only time they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when they go to jail, or they go to hospital for a surgery, or if you are sick or something, now you remember Allah, I need to make dua. As soon as you recover, as soon as you find a job, as soon as you find a wife, you're not making dua to Allah again, right? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in some cases, He doesn't answer you right away, because He wants you to make dua and to keep the company for a good time. Otherwise, if He answers your dua in half an hour, then you're not going to make dua to Him again. But if He keeps you making dua for 6 months or 2 years, then during this time you are connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are also close to Him. We'll continue some other time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and yu'allimana ma yanfa'una wa yanfa'una ma 'allamana. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا. اللهم إنا نسألك في هذا اليوم العظيم المبارك لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا ظالما إلا قصمته. اللهم اغفر لإخواننا المسلمين المستضعفين في سوريا وفي العراق وفي فلسطين وفي ليبيا وفي مصر وفي اليمن وفي باكستان وفي أفغانستان وفي كل مكان يظلم فيه المسلمون. اللهم كن لهم عونا ونصيرا. اللهم احفظ دماء المسلمين ووحد كلمتهم يا رب العالمين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us sincerity in everything we say and do, to give us the best in this life and the best in the life to come. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our good deeds and to reward us fully for them according to the best of our intentions, and to forgive us anything we have done by ignorance, mistake, or forgetfulness. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأقم الصلاة.